Tom Lee is at it again, making huge predictions on different indexes. This time the Russell 2000, and you are going to see what he says here real quick. And then we're going to also talk about Ethereum is trading its ETF now. Bitcoin kind of showing some weakness along with the miners. Let's go ahead and take a look at this first, though.
Trump, small caps, industrials, financials rally.
And you're sticking with that call, which is for what, 40% over 10 weeks?
Yeah, the overlap is small caps are very sensitive to a Fed cut.
There you go. 40% in 10 weeks. And I'll show you a ticker that can make that into well over 100% reality here. And we're going to do that right now. So he's saying that Fed rate cuts are likely on the table, possibly even for July, if the report that's coming out at the end of the week, not end of the week, this week or next week, I'll have to look at the calendar, comes in cool again, that the Fed might feel confident in making a cut, possibly even this month. Now, that's a bit ultra bullish for me. I think probably September will likely be the cut. But just to know that Tom Lee is thinking that it is possible that the Fed could see the appropriate data to make a cut this month, that's pretty exciting. Anyways, let's get into, well, next, the economic calendar. Nothing going on today, nothing really going on tomorrow other than a hawkish Fed speaking. But then Thursday, we've got GDP numbers, jobless claims, and retail inventories. Those three are going to be very important. Then we got PCE and core PCE on July 26th, which is the number that the Fed is looking for in order to make their rate cut decisions. So Thursday and Friday are big news days this week. Let's get into some charts. So this is the IWM. This is the Russell 2000. Now, we didn't watch the whole thing, but basically what he was saying on there. Now, this is the on the daily. All right, this is the daily for that. Now, one thing he mentioned is that we got this huge thrust up followed by a pullback and a bounce up. Now, how much was that pullback? It was about 5%, which is within range of that average pullback on a run up, meaning we could continue to run from here now that we've got that. Now, we did come below the 5-day moving average, which is this green line here. We came below that, right? We bounced off of the top of the ATR bands, which is the red band there, the red line. Now, if we can get back above the 5-day moving average, which is currently at 220.39, we could see this thing quickly find its way up into the 230s here off of IWM. Now, one thing I do want to point out that is crazy ultra bullish is on the weekly chart. We go down to the weekly chart, check this out. We got a cross up on the MACD weekly chart back on the week of July 8th. On the weekly chart, we got a cross up above the zero line on the weekly chart. That is crazy bullish. Look at this blue line. It is just charging up. This thing could easily on the weekly chart, man, we could find ourselves in a couple of weeks doing like a move, something like back here where it went from this bottom here all the way up to the top of the bands. But we can see it going over the bands, right? We can see ourselves moving up, into this red here, into the 240s, maybe even low 250s, potentially off of that type of momentum. Now, I do think it likely will cool off. We might see ourselves doing a flag here for a week or two, maybe reset some of these momentum indicators. But largely, if we can get some volume coming through this week, I would not be surprised to see the IWM, the Russell 2000, picking up here going into August and even September, especially if a rate cut happens in July. If a rate cut happens in July, a surprise one, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if IWM did a short-term big old pump again, just like it did back here. So we are currently watching the daily chart on this. For that. One other area I'm looking at is the hourly for like shorter term momentum. And the one thing that I like about the hourly is that it's forming a nice cup and handle here. Even from here, we got this nice cup. Now I want to see it come up a little higher and then make a handle and have that handle come back down to about 218, which it seems to be doing in the pre-market now already. And then from there, find its way back up. That's what I want to see on this chart here. But what am I watching on here is the MACD as well. Is now RSI is overbought, but that can easily come back down in a big way, especially as soon as the market opens here in about 15 minutes, and it finds its way back to like that 218 level. But the MACD here, you can see now we did get a cross up. It was below the zero line, so we could see this curl over, creating that handle. okay? But it did do a cross up, and it is the blue line, the MACD line, is currently in above the 0 line, and it is dragging the orange line above the 0 line. So if we get the handle, we might get a cross down above the 0 line, which really is not as significant as a cross down below the 0 line. And that's where we would see our handle for it. And then we'd see it cross up again, but this time above the 0 line after it makes that handle. And then when we see that, then we can see this thing come up into the 230s, which would be the top of the Fibonacci bands here up at, honestly, all the way up at 232. So that's what I'm watching for. I'm watching the hourly chart to see if I'm going to get that like cup and handle formation. And then from there, use that as a launch pad to go up into the 230s. Now, how can we take a potential 40% return, which is, this is Tom Lee's words, not mine, in terms of a 40% return. A 40% return from here would be absolutely huge. I mean, let me see, what would that be? Let me make it nice and small. A 40% return from here, not even on my scale. Not even on my scale yet. There we go. 40% return from here would be $310. That is huge. Over 10 weeks. That is massive. Now, how can you make that even larger? Now, this is where we look at triple X. So you could use options. You could use options, but those are, they have a time limit, and the further out you go, they get much more expensive as you go further out. But there are things called 3X ETFs. TNA is one of them, which is the small cap bull 3X shares. Click on that. Look at that, the exact same chart as IWM, but it moves at 3 times the pace. So if IWM goes up 40% in the next 10 weeks, this one goes up 120%, which would put this over $100 from its current price of $46. Okay, this is likely how I would play it, because options do expire, and if it doesn't happen quickly enough, I could find myself in a bad position. Whereas with this, I can hold it, where there is still decay on these, but it's less. There's less decay on this than on an option. So you could hold this a little bit longer. I could hold this for 10 weeks, and then if it didn't play out, then I would let it go at whatever a loss that was. Now the thing with these is that they can lose, they gain big, but they can also lose big. So this is higher risk, and of course none of this is financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. But I am looking for that cup to form first. So I am looking for something like on the hourly chart here, I would be watching the MACD. I'm looking for the MACD to come up, cross back below the signal line, over the 0 line, and then in the handle, and then swoop back up and cross above the signal line, above the 0 line, above the signal, above the 0, and then from there, see ourselves flying high, potentially on this one up into like the $53, $54 range on this guy, which would be a pretty sweet return, actually. If it were to, like, let's say we caught the handle somewhere around like 40, 45, like high 44s, and it came all the way up to like 53, that's an 18% return. That would be that. I mean, I'd be pretty happy with that as well. So that is the potential 100% return play that Tom Lee's talking about right now. All right, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the Ethereum ETFs. Those are trading now. The Ethereum ETF, they got approval. It starts in 12 minutes. As of the timing of this recording, it will be trading. There will be, these are the tickers here. You've got Grayscale Ethereum Mini Trust, ETH, Franklin Ethereum ETF, EZ, Vanek Ethereum, ETHV, Bitwise, ETHW, 21 shares Core Ethereum, Seth, Fidelity Ethereum Fund, FETH, BlackRock's BLK iShares Ethereum Trust, ETH, and the Invesco Galaxy Ethereum ETF, QETH. There's also approved Grayscale to convert their ETH into a spot ETF for Ethereum. So Ethereum is now trading as an ETF. How's that affecting Ethereum? Ethereum is actually up 1.5% today. Now, the sell-off already happened. I'm telling you right here, from back here, where it ran up on May 20th, and we peaked out on May 27th, then we dropped 29%. So the sell the news event already happened. That's not going to happen this time. Don't believe that's going to happen this time, especially with this really sweet bull flag setup we've got right here. All we need to see is the Ethereum price go above 35.50. So Ethereum price closing above 35.50 on the daily, and this starts looking like an inverted head and shoulders right here, which would take us quickly back up to $4,000 and beyond on Ethereum. So I'm actually pretty bullish on Ethereum right now with the ETF coming online here. I do think that this will end up being a bull flag, feeding into that inverted head and shoulders situation here, and that we will likely see ourselves back at $4,000 on Ethereum very quickly, which will have a significant positive impact on tickers like BitDigital. I don't think it's happening today, but because I looked at the pre-market a little bit earlier, and we'll look at that here in a moment. We'll just go like on a real quick lightning round on the miners this morning, and then we'll move on from there. Let's take a look at the hourly for Ethereum. How is the hourly looking on the MACD? So we did get a 50 retracement on the RSI. The MACD, wow, MACD did a big old run up here. Look at this, it got real wide on that gap. Now we are seeing white lines here, which means that the momentum is slowing down. And we have this descending parallel channel right here to show that, but these tend to break to the upside. So when this breaks, I expect it to break to the upside and do a similar move to like this, which would be a should be something like a 3.3% move, which, okay, let's go from about right there, 3.3%. Let's see that. Yeah, that'd take us about 3,600 once this descending channel breaks. Take us up to 3,700, which would break the neckline of the inverted head and shoulders, as well as the bull flag, and take us potentially even higher. So I'm watching for that. I'm looking for, probably on the MACD in this case, I'd be looking for the signal line to meet the MACD line somewhere above the zero line and like kind of like bounce off of it. That's what I'm looking for on Ethereum on the hourly chart right now. But yeah, this looks good. Ethereum looks great. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down 1.55%. That's not going to be good for us or our miners right now. I'm actually not too bad upset about this formation here. Let's take a look at the MACD. Same sort of situation on Ethereum. It crossed up under the zero line. We got a big move up. And then now the MACD is above the signal line, significantly above, also above the zero line. I would be looking for the MACD line to come down and meet the signal line, possibly in a down move. Maybe we'll find ourselves at 65,000 or so while it does that move, and then see it charge back up from there. That's what I'd be looking for. But I don't dislike this. I mean, this movement looks good. It's looking like a little bit like an Elliott wave right now, where we have wave 1, 2. Here, let me draw it. Wave, there we go. Wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and then wave somewhere up here, the 72,000. That's what I'd be looking for now. If price comes anywhere below 60, 65,000, then that would invalidate that whole idea. So keep an eye out for that specifically. Now let's move on to the miners. So I'm going to read off real quick. So first I'm going to open up CleanSpark, and then I'm going to look at my Weevil app, and I'm just going to read off how they're doing in the pre-market right now, and then we're going to take a real quick look at how their candles looked yesterday. So we've got the miners, CleanSpark pre-market down 2.7%, BitDigital down 1.65%, Farms down 2.08%, Mara down 2.25%, Riot down 2.38%, Iron down 2.5%, Cypher down 4.3%, Core Z down 3.17%, Wolf down 3.32%, Hut down 2.41%, BitDeer down 2.2%. So everything's down. It's down a little bit significantly in the pre-market. Now let's take a look at how it looked tomorrow. Could we have predicted this? Probably. We got a pretty disgusting doji candle on CleanSpark yesterday. Closed above $18, which was meant to give you hope, and then this morning the pre-market took it all away. How rude of CleanSpark to do that. Are we surprised? Not really. I do think that CleanSpark is still probably pushing through some of that dilution. Anytime the price gets above that like $18 to $20 range, they'll start turning on the printer and pushing down the value of our shares here. We are currently just above this signal line here, so there is potential that this could move back up from here and find it back around $21 potentially. I do expect CleanSpark, until CleanSpark shows that it's going to hold above $18 solidly, though, I can't say that it won't revisit 15. It could totally revisit 15. So CleanSpark likely to continue in this range between 21 and 15 for now. We'll see. But remember though, patience is key here, because when this thing breaks out, it's going to break out big. All right, let's move on to BitDigital. BitDigital, I was hoping it would be the belle of the ball today, with Ethereum coming out with its ETFs and Ethereum trading up, but BitDigital is actually trading down in the pre-market. But we are still above this ascending trend line that I've got here, this yellow one, which coincides honestly with the midline of the ATR bands. I like that. As long as it's between this yellow line here and this red line up here, it is still going up. So I'm not too concerned. If we get a closure beneath that yellow line, which is currently at 373, we get a closure beneath that, then I would start thinking, okay, we're going to come back to 363 and we're going to test that. If 363 does not hold, we're going to come quickly down to about 330. If that can't hold, $3. And then that basically at $3, then I'd say that this move up was basically over for the time being. We're going to make a new local low, and then we're going to find our way back up later in the year. That's what I would say in that situation. Right now, things still look bullish, even though we are down and we have been, it looks like we're going to have 2 down days in a row potentially. We're still very bullish, and I would expect Bit Digital at any moment, honestly, especially if Ethereum finds itself rallying, and it already is up even higher than it was a moment ago. I can see it up on one of my tabs. We could find ourselves quickly back up in the high 4s, mid 5s, given the situation. Bitfarms, let's take Bitfarms. Bitfarms yesterday printed a very similar candle to CleanSpark. It found its way down. I think it's going to come down and meet the yellow line down here, which is the mid band on the ATRs, which is at 278. And then from there, I really want to see how it interacts there. And is it going to come back up and try to take out this high here at 315? Because we did make a lower high now. I don't like that on Bitfarms, how it made a lower high here on July 17th compared to June 20th. That lower high, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Now, this does look like it could be something of a smaller cup and handle being formed, but that's to be seen. If price goes any lower, honestly, than 263, then that cup and handle idea would be invalidated, and we would be coming back to 250, maybe even lower. And if we get anywhere below, honestly, anywhere below 245, 244, then I'd be looking at this as a potential double top, taking us back down significantly, which would be very upsetting, but it is a possibility. But as long as we're holding above the yellow line here, above that 278 on the daily chart, as long as we're holding above that, we don't close beneath it and then open the next day beneath it, then we are still in that bull territory, and we still could come up to like 321, no problem. All right, let's move on to Mara. How is Mara looking? Mara, actually, not too bad. We got this little descending channel here that we have been in pre-market. We're just down at the back of the bottom of this candle here, which is at 23.43. I actually am looking at this as an area to potentially go long. I'm going to see how today reacts, and I might decide to go long on Mara here for at least until Christmas. I might think about doing that here, or until price comes up into the 30s, and then I would let that go. Mara's been kind of more of my swing position in the Bitcoin miners. Like it when it's down on its lows, I buy it. When it has a pop, I sell it. That's how I've been working with Mara, versus like Bitfarms, Bit Digital, and CleanSpark, where I've just been doing more of a buy and hold strategy. On Mara, I've been doing more of a swing strategy. All right, let's take a look at Riot. Riot, same sort of situation. Honestly, Riot is showing more strength. I would be looking at this as an area to potentially go long, especially if we get another daily close above this fuchsia line here, which is at 1217. I'd be looking at that as a potential area that we could take off from, because we are still above structure here. We are flagging above structure, which is bullish. And we're not overbought on the RSI. The MACD could come down, but it is still green, showing that it is growing. So nothing really is showing any signs of like significant weakness on Riot right now. We could see this thing blow up to 16 pretty quick in our faces. No problem. Let's take a look at IREN. How's IREN doing? IREN, now IREN pre-market, we're at the pre-market 1131. So we're down here at this line here, right at the midline of that double top. It is really struggling to go beneath that. I mean, it could avoid going beneath that, and that would be great for a lot of holders here. But if it does end up going beneath that 326 level and closing down there and opening back down there the next day without charging right back up like it did on July 19th, then we could see it come down lower. I'm looking now these lines here. I am looking at about between like 960 and it's still 960 and $8. That's still where I'm looking. In that, somewhere in that zone, I would be interested in buying IREN. Or if it shows that it has strength above $11, I would also be happy to buy it above $11 if that is the situation. But it hasn't shown that yet. Hasn't shown it yet. So let's take a look at CoreZ. CoreZ is just doing what CoreZ does, man. It's just holding up here in this area, showing no signs of strength or weakness. It's just chugging along. I've got nothing really to add to CoreZ. Wolf, same sort of thing. It's just like Bit Digital. It's up above this yellow line, in between this yellow and this red line, just kind of charging up beneath it. It is starting to flatten out, so we might start seeing it range between like $7 and $5 for a while, but we are watching this yellow line at 551. If it breaks that, then we'd be looking at it potentially to come down lower. Let's take a look at HUT. Hut, same thing as Wolf and Bit Digital. Honestly, it's between the yellow and red lines on the ATR bands. It's going to just hang out in between those two, charging up and down between them until it breaks that yellow line at some point. And if it does, then we'll be looking at it to come down to the next point of support, which in this case would be about 1560, about 1560 for Hut in that situation. I think that's all of them. That's all I've got for you today. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Don't forget to check out the Trade Cave store on Etsy, link in the description, as well as the channel bio, and have a profitable day.